Our world continues to change and push us in ways we have not been challenged before. On this show, we talk about these challenges, how to be aware of them, face them, and overcome them in your life. This is David Waldas, creator of the Aligned Living System.
And I'm Nick Musica, Aligned Living Coach. Welcome to the Aligned Living System podcast.
Welcome to the Aligned Living System podcast. This is David Waldas here with Nick Musica. Happy New Year almost. So we are just coming up on Christmas time, middle of Hanukkah or end of Hanukkah. This is the time when people are making their New Year's resolutions and reflecting a lot. We're right at the solstice, the solstice, the winter solstice, the reversing of from the darkening to the lightening. And Nick and I were just talking about, what does it look like for people as they come into the new year, and everybody's setting their New Year's resolutions. And what is it that we're really trying to create? So often we go, oh, these are the things that I keep thinking I need to be doing. These are the ththings like I need to get to the gym. I need to get in better shape. I need to read more. I need to watch less TV. I need to not drink so much. I need to whatever, we're again, making resolutions about changing our symptoms. And, it's funny. Everything that we do with our coaching is not about symptoms. It's working where it is that we create the need for the symptoms, where we create the need for the coping mechanisms and clearing that out. And so we wanted to talk a little bit about stepping into the new year. And I don't even like to call it New Year's resolutions because it's such a gunky, useless, again, I think you were just looking up, what is the stats, Nick? Good morning, by the way.
Good morning. Yeah. So according to Google, their AI overview to it, so take that with a grain of salt. For multiple reasons, most New Year's resolutions fail, with statistics showing around 80 to 90% of people giving up, often within the first few weeks.
Oh my gosh, it's shocking.
With only 9 to 10% achieving their goals by year end. Common reasons for failure.
What the goals are, right?
Yeah, right. So which gets to common reasons for failure include setting vague, unrealistic goals, lack of planning, and an all or nothing mindset, according to Baylor College of Medicine.
Yeah. And I would say, what's not included there is what I just said, setting goals for changing symptoms, setting goals for changing coping mechanisms. And so, we just move it to a different coping mechanism, like changing our addictions. I quit drinking, smoking weed every day, but I quit drinking,
Yeah, I was just thinking about that as we were talking about the topic. And, I've seen so many times, which one is worse for you, alcohol or weed?
How is that relevant? How is that relevant?
What a dumb ass question that is. Relevant for some people, and what an awful question to ask.
Yeah. It's, and so, as you're coming into this time, that whole piece, what is it that we get upset with ourselves about, judge ourselves about, feel we need to change? Again, it's almost always symptoms and coping mechanisms. And, an example I often use when we talk about what we're doing with Aligned Living is that we're going to the place where we get to move forward as opposed to the place where the problem is. And when we are in the discomfort of focusing on what's wrong, what we perceive as wrong, we're always trying to change that. That's where all our energy goes to, the symptoms, the coping mechanisms, the things we don't like in the world. And those are never the causation of them. The causation of them is somewhere else. And when we start to move into that next right action, into that place of moving forward in our clarity, it just straightens out those things. We don't feel the need to do that. Like if I'm feeling happy and fulfilled, all of a sudden that need to check out with alcohol or weed, doesn't show up in the same way. And so, it's funny. I was just seeing this feeling of, when you start sliding on ice. I'm actually, I'm not in Southern California right now. I'm back at my parents' house visiting. If you notice my backdrop here with this old curly maple door from 1974, on snow, there's two ways, like you can start to hit your brakes and try to, or actually not hit your brakes, like lift your foot off the gas and the brake and kind of steer out of it. But also if you have front wheel drive or 4-wheel drive, you can accelerate out of it and you can straighten out the slide through acceleration. And of course you have to be able to, have some skill set to that. But really what we're talking about here is using moving forward as a tool to clear up what's not working for us. And not just moving forward by picking something and going. I mean, that has some value, But when you really get clear on what's right for you and start doing that, as opposed to just struggling with trying to do the things that aren't working for you differently, or trying to not do them because there's a reason you do them. And so the analogy I often use is if you go to a chiropractor, and it'd be really weird if you didn't understand a chiropractor and you go in and you say, my ankle's been really bothering me, or my knee's been really bothering me. And he starts to adjust your hip, or she starts to adjust your hip. And you're like, oh, no, 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 my knee. Like, I'm not sure why you're in the wrong spot. And well, that's because that's where the solution is. The solution's in your hip, and that's where it's catching up, and it's a little bit crooked, and so your knee's been sore. Like, oh
Mhm.
no, I didn't. No, it's my knee. And when we look at our New Year's resolutions, when we look at what's not working in our life, looking at it through that lens of all of our attention, of course, is going to go where that's uncomfortable. Like, oh, it's another bad relationship, or another business thing that's not working, or somebody's like, well, it's not about writing a better contract. It's not about, like getting better at selecting a partner. It's about whatever it is in you that needs to clear up in order for that to change. And it's not where the problem is. And we
Mhm.
do what I call discomfort-based decision making. We make decisions from that discomfort, trying to alleviate the discomfort. And the solution's never there. That's just, do what I call solving the problem with the opposite problem, where we go from, oh, I was doing it this way and it caused this discomfort. And so I'm going to do the opposite of that, the polarity of that. And now I'm creating this other problem that actually feels really good at first and feels powerful, until I realize that I just created another problem instead of correcting it. And that we look back on our past and go, oh yeah, I just kept flipping back and forth between problem and opposite problem, and symptom and opposite symptom, and coping mechanism and opposite coping mechanism. And so as you move into the new year, I really encourage a different perspective, the chiropractor perspective. Go to where the thing is that's causing the issue, not the symptom of the thing that's causing the issue,
Mhm.
the coping mechanism.
I remember going to this leadership training a long time ago, and they taught us this technique. It's called the 5 questions technique for managers to ask the folks they're
Hmm.
working
Hmm.
with. Like, and it's as simple as it sounds. I mean, they're artful questions, but it's 5 questions. The whole idea is 5 questions will get to the root or the truth of what's
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people don't even know what it is, what's
Hmm.
driving their behavior or what happened in a
Hmm.
situation or whatever
Hmm.
it is. And so the rule of thumb was ask 5 questions, and you sort of have to follow the bouncing ball to get to the
Hmm.
root.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
it's a very surprisingly effective technique. And
Hmm.
if you can play shrink with yourself, coach with yourself to some degree,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can sort of get to the hip is the root of the problem, and the knee
Hmm.
is just
Hmm.
a symptom of it.
Hmm. Yeah, and the questions are basically what and why is that? And why is that?
That's right.
Right? Like,
That's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
and what causes that? And what causes that?
Yeah, yeah.
And and so yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So for the knee, it would be like, so tell me about the knee, David. Well, my knee
Mhm,
hurts. When I run on it, it I'm running on the outside of the foot. That's landing first. And where do you feel that? Well, I feel it in my knee, but also in the foot. Now that I mentioned the foot, and now that you mention it,
mhm,
I'm sore in the hip afterwards. So tell me,
mhm.
and it just sort of
Yeah, I'm
evolves
just
to,
sorest in my knee. I notice it the most in my knee, so that must be it. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And I mean, there is basically taking it beyond the surface. So, like, I would bet the two biggest uh, New Year's resolutions are exercise and substance use or abuse. Like, I'm gonna
Oh.
drink less, or I'm gonna not drink, or I'm gonna exercise more, or probably diet. I would bet those are probably the three biggest ones. And so those are always like like, well, why do you drink so much? Oh, just because I love drinking. Because like, really? Is that why? Or is there something, like, is that like, well, why don't you work out? I'm just lazy. Well, I don't think any of us are lazy. I think that we haven't found inspiration, and not having inspiration is different than lazy. And I'm not sure what to do. I don't trust myself, like, and so moving past all of those things of what if a New Year's resolution was actually doing something that inspired you, doing things that light you up. And then all of a sudden, well, I didn't feel like having a drink because I was actually enjoying myself being present. I didn't want to miss it. All of a sudden I felt like working out because I have all this energy because I'm excited about my life and what I'm doing.
Hmm.
I didn't eat shitty food because then I feel like I don't have the energy to do what
Like
I need to do, and
garbage.
I know the fuel I need in order to get this done because I'm excited about my life and I'm excited about what I'm doing. And so, what does the New Year's resolution look like for you? As you're listening here, where is it that you can light yourself up more? Where is it that you can create more fulfillment, more moving forward
Aliveness.
and watching what's aliveness? Yeah.
Aliveness, yeah.
Vibrancy, right? Yeah. It was funny. I was working with a client last week and super energetic, super empathic person, but never knew that about herself. And so we were working and she said, it's so cool how you can see energy. Like she's like, I wish I could. I'm like, you can. And she's like, but our experience is so much our experience that we don't have a reference point and we don't realize it's different from the person next to us. And so it's funny. So I dropped my energy, like went into the consciousness lock for those of you that know what that is, and just turned my energy off for a second. She's like, I'm like, well, how do I look different? She's like, I don't know. You just look kind of like flat, like kind of like dull, not like vibrant. And I got my energy going. And she's like, oh yeah, like that. Now there's vibrancy. I'm like, okay, well, the only thing I changed was my energy. I do see energy. I'm like, great. Now we can start reading it. And then, I said, look at that plant. Like that one's alive, that one's fake. Like, what's the difference? Like, oh, I can see the difference in those two plants. One, and that it's a great fake, but it doesn't have a vibrancy to it. And the moment we start to experience vibrancy, life force, and see it in others, and then recognize it in ourselves and go, oh, my life force is down, my life force is up. All of a sudden, like that changes everything.
Yeah.
And it's like it's painful. I was talking about 3 weeks into the 12-week program, we start to have what we call falling off the cliff, where when we go back into shutting off our vibrancy after having turned it on, where it's just like painful. It just feels like, oh my God, like this is just so emotionally, mentally painful to feel this flat. Like it feels like depression, because now we have a new upper end, and it just makes us clean up the bottom end, and we go, I can't be flat. I have to be vibrant. And if I have to be vibrant, well, shit, now I can't eat that thing anymore. Now I have to get exercise. Now I can't gossip and talk about the same stuff that used to pull my energy down. Now I can't watch the news because it's just too painful, not because of the topic, not because of the conversation, but because I go into a place where I lose my vibrancy.
100%. I remember you telling me about when you stopped drinking alcohol. And I was like, bummer for David.
Well, this is the closest with it. It's a vibrancy substitute, right?
Yes. And then I guess is probably 2.5 years, if I'm counting correctly. I had a beer and I felt lack of, use language we're using, lack of vibrancy, lack of aliveness for about a week. It just dropped out. It just didn't exist for about a week.
Yeah.
And I thought,
because it's hard to get back when you've poisoned yourself.
Oh my God.
When there's toxins running through your system, like you can't be vibrant.
Yeah. And I thought, nope, that's for David. That's not for me.
So glad that's not my problem.
Not my problem.
My solution. Again, I thought it was my problem, but now it's my solution.
Yeah. So I'm gonna make sure this is not the problem. And I had another beer, one beer, and in San Diego the beers are turbo with alcohol, so whatever, 7%. I don't know what it was. And the same thing happened. And then that was the choice point of, well, I've proven and this is what happens every time. So do you want to take the gamble? Do you want to risk? Do you want to feel those ways? What's the best decision here? So no more alcohol. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, you're trading what felt like aliveness temporarily with a hangover, with a drop down, for vibrancy on a regular basis, like all the time.
Yeah.
And so that whole piece of like, oh, when I actually feel good, I don't need to go on this roller coaster of feeling good and then feeling bad. I can actually just feel good, and that's just not worth it.
Yeah.
The net, it's just a net loss.
Yeah.
And the more I spend time in my vibrancy, the bigger the net loss is, because the bigger the gap is, the bigger the range is in my vibrancy, my frequency, my energy, my emotional well-being, my stability. It's interesting too. And we've been talking a lot about the shift in the energy on the planet, and now it's shifting consciousness and shifting humanity. The number of people that drink now, it's ridiculous how much it's dropped. It's down to like only 54% of the population drink now, and people drink less. And it's really shifted in young people way more, and women way more. And so when we look at who's the most sensitive, typically are younger people, and women tend to be much more in touch with their energetics than men. And so we're watching where it's leading, right? And like the drop down the last 2 years is ridiculous. among women and young people. How many quit drinking? How many are just not interested in it anymore? And it's amazing how many people I run into that they're just like, yeah, like I don't. And it used to be, like when I was growing up, like everybody drank. And when I
Everybody.
lived in, like not that long ago, like I remember Colorado, it was weird. Like microbrews are such a big thing there, and I'm not sure what it's like there now. Um, but I wonder what that's doing to restaurants and the alcohol business too, because you see, like I remember downtown San Diego, downtown Encinitas, everything was turning into restaurants so they could serve alcohol to make money. The rents were so high, and the only way they were making that money back was, like alcohol. You make a lot of money on it as a restaurant. It's where most restaurants make most of their money,
Yeah, that's the
and
margin.
and so, it made me really curious of like what's going to happen with the restaurant business and with rents and with distribution. Because you walk through, so many small towns now, and there's like all the places where all these really cool little unique shops and boutiques are bar restaurants now because they're the only ones that could afford the rent as it went up because they're the only ones with the margins and the only ones. And so, as we as a collective stop consuming alcohol, like it's going to restructure all that. And it's got to already be. I mean, if there's been a 17% drop, I think that was the number for women. It was like in the last 2 years, like 17% fewer women drink.
Yeah, I'm looking up see what the internet has to say. Drinking trend.
Yeah, but it's fascinating, right? And it's all a reflection of shifts in consciousness. And when we do things that make us feel low, we pay a different price for it. Because if we were just feeling okay and we drank and we feel vibrant and excited, great. And then we have a hangover, it's not that big a range difference from our normal. But if our baseline is feeling really good and lit up and we put ourselves on a roller coaster, like it just doesn't work for us anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I'm trying to scan it really quick, but I can't quite. The percentage of US adults who drink alcohol has fallen to a record low, around 54%.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Huh. I mean,
Isn't that
there's
crazy? Like,
still yeah, there's still quite a few I mean, obviously, still quite a few restaurants, and I'm just thinking of downtown Encinitas right now, and that's definitely a
mhm,
thing.
mhm.
But, I mean, here's what the data shows.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean, it's gotta have an effect.
the only way to really evoke change is to be able to feel the feels and
Mhm,
see how
mhm.
things show up. And if you can't feel the feels and really get in tune with it, the amount of change is going to be 10 to 15% in any direction versus huge leaps and bounds in the right direction.
Yeah, and again, when I look at all the changes I made in my life, they didn't feel like choices at all. They were just like, "This doesn't work for me anymore. This isn't interesting anymore." And of course, there was a psychological mourning at first of like, maybe like you said, like, "Well, maybe it's not alcohol. Maybe let me drink again tomorrow and just see. Maybe that was just a fluke." And you're like, "Shit, okay, this doesn't work for me anymore." But then, once we get past that psychological piece that says, like, I'm mourning something that I used to want, but I don't want anymore. Like it's all just an old perspective. And then when we go, oh, actually, I don't want to drink. Like I don't actually need to mourn this. I can actually celebrate this because that means something really good is happening in my life because I don't want this anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not a loss. It's a
Yeah.
gain. And the same thing. It's interesting. When I look at exercise, like I used to exercise because I enjoyed it. So I'd be out mountain biking or running and it had a huge, support for my mental health, but I didn't make that connection. I was like, I love biking. I love, you know, cycling and, I love playing soccer, whatever it was. Um, and now, like it's absolutely that, but that's way down the list. Maybe that's like 10% of the reason I do it. It's because it's completely connected to my mental health, meaning my vibrancy and my ability to hold my alignment. And the moment I feel kind of gunky or off, I go right to exercise, just like I would with meditation, just like I would, with something that's actually helping me, accelerate out of the slide, accelerate out of the, getting stuck. And
Yeah.
there's an absolute connection between mental health and physical exercise, and it doesn't work if we're just doing, like kind of so light that we're barely sweating. Like it's something that where we have to like really break a sweat in order for it to matter. Really like that. That's why the high intensity interval training, the HIIT stuff, I think is so popular, is because we can in 20 minutes feel completely different.
Oh my
And
goodness.
like when I go running, I love to go trail running, I'll go hit the hills intentionally
Yeah.
because I know that that is, just letting my system up, high intensity intervals, and I feel like a different person within minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. I just started running again. Not a lot, but
Hmm.
it just even just like 2 miles. Just 2
Yeah,
miles
yeah,
just to get the body reacclimated to it.
yeah,
And I'm not sweating a whole lot doing it, but when I come back and I'm cooling down, that's when the sweat it starts to pour through the shirt,
yeah, yeah,
and it feels great. It feels
yeah. And
fantastic.
then something happens mentally, right? Because actually something's happening energetically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so again, the solution isn't, like I need to get to the gym. It's when I can attach my mental health to the exercise and I can
Yeah.
feel how I'm feeling and going, this is not acceptable. I want to feel vibrant again, or I want to feel another level of vibrancy because
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
scale all changes. It's like, oh, I only feel a little vibrant. That sucks. That's not acceptable for like, I need to feel full on vibrant. And so I'm going to go take a half hour and go run those hills on the trails. And when
Yeah.
I get back, like, let's go. Like, this is exciting,
A little bit goes a
but
long way.
we're in charge of it.
Yeah.
And if I see it as like, "Oh, I don't wanna work out," like, it's the first 5 minutes always hurts, like, this doesn't I've like, it's not about that, it's not about committing to something other than committing to feeling vibrant, and once we have that skill set, we just do whatever it is to take care of what's in the way of us being vibrant,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so yeah, so with that said, we're actually gonna be, you know, I'm gonna be starting a group program. I'm only gonna teach a couple more of these. Is really what I've been feeling now that I'm doing the coach training, which is so fun. Now we're actually a month into the academy, and like it's just been so fun to be taking people through the 12 weeks, especially with the new updates.
Hmm.
And we started another one of those in March, and I'm going to start another, probably one of the last couple 12-week group programs that I'll be coaching because I'll be sending that out to the coaches I've trained very soon. But I'm going to do probably one or two more, maybe three at the most, of the small group trainings, which is like the 5 to 7 people, and starting one in January. And so, if this is exciting for you, if you're like, yeah, like I get what you're saying, I'm just not quite sure how to harness that vibrancy. I mean, that's what Aligned Living does, and I know, Nick, you're taking clients right now too. Uh,
I am. Yep. 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 And the Align Living training is alive and well in that methodology.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So you do a mix
I
of
do.
Aligned Living with your presence-based coaching, right?
It's true. Yep. 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 Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. And so, whatever resonates with you, check out our websites. Well, of course, they're in the show notes of nickmusica.com and davidwaldas.com. And there's opportunities in there to join us on these adventures. I mean, the transformation is always mind blowing to me. What people like, how much their life changes. And I think after doing it for so long, I have to kind of stop and remind myself. I just take it for granted. Like, of course, people are like, "Oh my god, I feel like a different person." Like, of course you do. Like everything's changing. Of course it is. But I realize that that's not when people sign up for coaching. That's generally not what happens. Or people going to therapists. That's generally not what happens. They start working through things, or they
Yeah.
set goals and start working
Yes.
towards the goals. And this isn't that. This is pulling yourself out of the gunk and getting really clear, because you feel so good that this is how it has to express through you. And that's a very different thing than going, okay, I'm going to go create this. I've always had this in me. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
well, let's light it up. Let's take all the stuff off you that's not that. And
Yeah.
how do we do that? By being so vibrant that the other stuff's not interesting anymore. Yeah.
So check it out.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. Well, Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah and all the other happy holidays. And I guess we have another one coming up for New Year's. Maybe not right around that time, but yeah, we'd love to be a support. That's what we do. It's what we love doing. It's why we're here, and it's where a lot of our vibrancy comes from.
Mm.
And so hopefully you'll join us in that. But thanks so much for listening, as always, and have a great week. We hope you enjoyed listening to today's podcast. And if you did, please subscribe so you can catch the next episode. If you want to learn more about the Aligned Living System and how it could support you in your life, check out davidwaldas.com.